Hi, herzlich willkommen zurück zu Installing Your Cell Phone Daydream von Hack Starlight. Hätte ein bisschen länger gedauert, war ein bisschen busy. Deswegen kommen wir eigentlich schon ohne Intro zum Kapitel. Chapter 3. What would you know? Bellamy and Sunny Mac lose their fucking minds. 2:31 p.m. August 5th. When Sam spotted Bellamy, he called out for her and waved his hands above his head. The main lobby was nearly bursting at the seams with screaming children, excited teens, and semi-enthused adults. His voice was almost drowned out by the swarms of people. When she heard her name being called, she made her way through the bustling crowds. There she is! There's the superstar! Sam was using a fake happy-tone, sporting a grin that stretched ear to ear. It was forced. But I could tell right away something was amiss. As it would turn out, Bellamy's desire to walk in the daycare had sparked quite a commotion amongst management. Upon reaching the front desk, she was met with Sam, Vanessa, and someone new. Standing by Sam was a man she hadn't seen before. Dirty blonde hair, denim jeans, disheveled button-down, white shirt, dirty walking boots, everything he wore was dirty. It almost looked like he had taken a tumble and tar and decided to just soak himself in it. Even his hands were caked in a thick layer of grease. Compared to every other employee she'd seen, this guy stood out. Judging by the hefty-looking tool holster, she assumed he was from Parts and Services. Bellamy, good to see you. You remember Vanessa, I'm sure. She's lead night guard. Vanessa nodded loosely in Bellamy's direction at the mention of her name. Well, it was better than a skull from the overnight. And now this handsome fellow is Brandon. He's standing in for our current Parts and Service manager still. She's on maternity leave. Samuels had swished over to introduce this too. Brandon quickly offered his hand, lips twitching upward in a half-smile. Hey, I've heard a lot about you. Vanessa says you're good at making messes, but not so good at cleaning them up. Bellamy chuckled awkwardly as she took his hand to shake. As the skin of her fingertips touched, disgust surged up her arm and spread through her entire body. Her stomach lurched, nearly injecting her scrambled eggs and toast all over his front. Briefly, she thought it wouldn't make much of a difference. He was already dirty. Belle took a deliberately slow breath through the nose and released it through her lips, focused solely on the conversation they were having. Yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you, Brandon. I'm Bellamy. Brandon's smile was off-putting. To say she found it a bit disturbing was an understatement. His upper lip curled over his teeth and stretched wide. For fuck's sake. His eyes were trained on her and only her, watching her like a hawk, like prey. The smiley water didn't quite reach the deep brown of his eyes. They looked dull and glossy. Disgust slowly trembled up her spine. She couldn't help but stare back at him, though. His dead smile was far creepier than Sunny's perpetual one. Like a doll, animatronics got nothing on this guy. Pervert. Like Sam said, I work below in Parts and Service. If our Glambugs malfunction, have system issues, they're sent to me. It's my job to assess the conditions, scan the programming for any bad coding, and rewrite them. If necessary, of course. These days there's fewer software issues and more mechanical ones. Lots of loose screws, broken tummy hatches, missing fingers. As you can probably gather, there's a lot of elbow grease involved, that's for sure. For example, recently I've been focused on Monty. I've been working on him for a while now, about 2 weeks. I figured maybe his CPU has been damaged. Maybe some kid spilled Zola all over him, which somehow leaked through the waterproof seal. Nope. He scratched the back of his head with a deep frown. Bellamy had to fight back a snarky, "Did you try turning it on and off again?" comment. CPU looks brand new. I've threaded through every single line of code, every protocol and update with a fine-tooth comb. Zilch. I even tried to rewrite some of his code. I still haven't made any progress. Everything is in order. I don't understand why he's so aggressive. There ain't anything wrong with his systems. As far as I can tell, he's pretty much brand spanking new. I'm not sure what else I could do aside from having him scrapped and letting the company commission another one. His voice was even matter-of-fact despite how puzzled he seemed to be. But those eyes. The stare he had trained on Belle didn't sit well with her. Not at all. Uncomfy. From a peripheral, she could see Vanessa sizing her up as well. Why does it feel like I'm prize pick being bet on? Samuel cleared his throat. Believe me, you might be wondering why we are here today. Both Vanessa and Brandon are willing to add you to the respective employee roster. I've told them you wanted to walk in a daycare with the attendant, but perhaps that's not the best idea, at least for the moment. The mention of the daycare and its animatronic attendant made Brandon scoff on this brief. She heard it. How do you want to walk with Thundrop? He's loud. Brandon didn't outright say he didn't have to. She could see in his face. Here, too. Someone else who didn't like Sonny. Bellamy took a small breath before she responded as evenly as possible. His voice is loud because it has to be. How many kids does he look after in one day? How big is the daycare? How big is the playground? His voice needs to be travel. The children need to hear him. Parents need to hear him as well. If I was a kid, I'd like to know where my caretaker was. And if I was a parent, I'd like to know where my child's caregiver was too. Especially if I'm paying top dollar for the service. I'm not a mechanic or robotics engineer, and just figured that would be common sense. She endeavored to keep her annoyance out of her tone. Couldn't tell if that worked or not. Her response made Brandon frown, and his eyes narrowed into her for a split second. It didn't last for more than a second, gone the moment it appeared. He hit his concept very well, but not well enough. Bellamy caught it. Her distaste and distrust immediately skyrocketed. But before anything could be said, Vanessa coughed awkwardly. You get to choose where you go, since Samuel doesn't want to be liable for what happens to you. He's dumping you onto one of us. Oh, Belle looked to Sam, who had refused to meet her gaze. She couldn't hold her irritation anymore. With all due respect, I don't understand the issue. You're a supervisor. Why are you allowing me, one of your new harass, choose a place? Aren't you supposed to evaluate me to see what my strengths and weaknesses are first? And from there you decide what department I'd be most efficient in. Is it because of what happened the other day with the broken case? Do you think something else will happen if I'm directly under you? The liability will fall on your shoulders? Even if something like that happens, those are the burdens and responsibilities you take on when you become a manager. Your obligation is to take care of your employees. Her arms crossed over her chest as she watched Sam sput in surprise. His cheeks redder than a tomato. Hit the nail right on the head, Vanessa nodded briefly, confirming Bellamy's assumption. Sam didn't want to have someone as twitchy as her beneath him, as untrue as that was. If only he knew. Since he's not going to take you, he's left it up to you to choose. I'll be frank. If you go with Brandon, you work with broken and malfunctional animatronics. That job is dangerous, and according to your application, you aren't qualified. Even if Brandon was to supervise you. At best, you'd be dragging broken parts back and forth. Those parts are heavy, and based on your figure, you aren't exactly built for heavy lifting. No offense. But you probably end up hurting yourself or dropping an expensive part. Your best bet would be security. It doesn't require much. You aren't afraid of the dark. That makes you 50% more qualified and able to perform tasks most newbies don't have the guts for. You don't talk much, but you don't have a problem with speaking your mind when you need to. I doubt you have a problem with irritated guests. And you have a very pleasant way of speaking to children. I saw and heard what happened yesterday on the surveillance camps with that little girl in Thundrop. If you ever found one running around after horrors, I'm confident you'll be able to handle them. You're a perfect fit. The worst that could happen is getting Holy shit. I'm so sorry. A moth had landed on my phone screen. I was a little startled. Holy shit, it's huge. Oh well. Where was I? The worst that could happen is getting lost in utility tunnels. And even then, your fast watch will guide you wherever you need to go. Vanessa took a moment to catch her breath. She didn't look excited, but she didn't look unhappy either. Her expression stayed completely neutral. You told Samuel last night you wanted to work in a daycare. Since we're desperate for workers, I proposed a compromise. Sam looked a little nervous at the proposal, but said nothing. Brandon's expression was blank, but his fists were clenched. His gaze had finally shifted to Vanessa. She hadn't allowed him to get a single walk in, and that was apparently something he didn't like. For the best, it seemed. He knew she was right. Dad really didn't want to cause a scene. Belle could feel his contact from where she stood. It stunk something awful. After taking a breath, she continued. You'll start in Lucky Stars. There's a gift shop in the daycare. You can spend the first half of your shift in the daycare security desk and the second half in the gift shop, stocking and cashiering. Your vice versa depending on our ability. Let's say if you do that for a few weeks. After that, you work with me as a night guard. I show you the route and teach you what you need to know personally. No training tapes. You have the option to choose after a month. There's also double shift, which will require much more training. It also means your shift would be longer than the standard 8-hour shift. Instead of 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., you'll be working from 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 4 a.m. 7 hours on the daycare and 6 on patrol. 2 30-minute unpaid meal breaks and 3 10-minute breaks. It will be very demanding. You will be exhausted. Your feet will be sure. Bright side, you'd be getting 4 hours of overtime. Vanessa finished with a shrug of her shoulders, allowing the other woman to briefly think it over. Staff is already stretched thin as it is. There's only so much our bots can do. Until we hire more people, your shifts are going to be weird. But once we get more people on the schedule, it should stabilize. By then you have a good idea of where you'd rather be. You'll be able to put in a transfer request. The decision will be based on your seniority and performance, not because someone doesn't want to bother you. Was it overnight? It was a display case, not a big deal. I was in a bad mood. Sorry about that. Bellamy listened intently to Vanessa's proposal. Overtime sounded nice but exhausting. Vanessa sounded respectable enough. Hell, she even apologized for the sore face she'd made. Only time will tell if her words held any weight. So, if I try to do this shift, 12 hours minus an hour for my lunch periods and 30 minutes for breaks. A half shift with sun and the other half spent wandering in the dark with a flashlight? That's not going to end well for me, is it? Despite knowing something was lurking in the darkness, something angry and violent and oh so eager to be heard, Bellamy nodded. Alright, that sounds fine to me. Where do I go? The superstar daycare is where she went. Big surprise. After the supervisors had dispersed, Bellamy made her way to her destination. Miraculously, she wasn't accosted or trampled by any unruly children or entitled adults. For that, she was grateful. Megan was the one who ended up training her at the check-in desk. From there, she was taught the ins and outs of how to scan IDs, print badges, issue passes, upgrade passes, what to do when a child goes missing in more detail compared to the tape she had watched previously. From what Megan was reading from a training handbook, Sundrop and Moondrop had particular protocols if a child were to go missing. There had been an extra section dedicated to how both entities would act if there was an abduction, but Megan refused to read it, and she skimmed to ballpoint maintenance. After about an hour of being read several different rules, codes, and safety procedures, Bellamy took Megan's place while she took a lunch break. As the brunettes gate IDs and clipped wristbands, her eyes began to wander over to the play area. The colorful slide, the tops of jungle gems, something about the aesthetic sparked a sense of nostalgia Bellamy didn't quite recognize. For Friday, the daycare seemed slow. The rest of the plex was packed. One could suppose most parents with little ones were spending time at home on their days off. It was peculiar, at least to her. It seemed either dead or very slow whenever she was in the daycare. She found herself zoning out, completely lost in thought. The loud jingling and plastic touch seized her attention and ripped her out of her silent contemplation. Pearl turned towards the pleasing noise just in time to see a mass of yellow and orange emerge from the tube. Peeking from the top of the slide was none other than the sun himself. His face looked loosely to one side. His hands were gripped onto the outside edges of the slide in the fun sign. Only the top half of his face and hands were visible, the rest of him purposely concealed inside the slide. There was a childlike bashfulness to how he behaved. Dare to disbelieve fear? She had promised to come back when Samuel mentioned how the daycare had always lacked an attendant. It wasn't difficult to imagine if Sandra genuinely thought she wouldn't return. Megan had made the habit of looking over towards the slide. Maybe he climbed up to say hello and it freaked her out. It would explain why he made it so obvious and loud when moving up the slide, to give her time to dip or do something stupid. A quick scan of her surroundings indicated that her check-in area was empty. There were no tools to ring up or children to help pass through the turnstiles. It's kind of creepy how empty it can get. She stepped out from behind the desk to go and greet the bashful animatronic. Her approach caused his fingers to tap anxiously against the thick yellow and blue plastic. Not wanting to stress him out more than he already was, Bellamy stopped about 10 feet from the slide, not missing the way his race shyly curved inward. That was adorable. Hello, Sonny, how are you? Son wasn't sure of what to say or do, but he offered her a timid wave. It was apparent he wasn't expecting to see her back as quickly as she'd returned or at all. His body language was stiff, a mixture of uncertainty and hesitance. When Bellamy smiled, though, he perked a bit. She took that as a sign to continue. You look a little surprised to see me. So, surprise! Her tone pitched higher, throwing her arms up in the air just as he did the last time they spoken. He watched in complete awe. I told you I'd ask to stay here. For a while. I was lucky that Sam agreed to let me walk here. Well, not here. They said I can walk in the gift shop and with you. But Megan needs to train me how to walk at her desk before I can walk at yours. Just in case someone doesn't come to walk, you know. Still no response other than the soft chime of the bells. From what Bellamy could tell, or at least guess, he was still processing the fact that she did what she said she would do. His rib was twitching again. She assumed he was thinking. Was he surprised she came back? Actually followed through with her promise? She kept her word. It made Bellamy wonder, how many times had people made empty promises to him? Seconds whizzed by before she heard a soft click and mechanical hum. Like clockwork, the inner ray began to twitch. It registered in her head. The sounds were coming from his body. The louder the hum became, the easier it was to identify. Fans. His internal fans had turned on. Bellamy didn't know much about animatronics and internal parts, but fans were usually there to cool down something that was overheating. Were his fans on because he was overheating? Was he trying to cool himself down? Whatever it was, she found it charming. The longer he stared at her, the louder his fans became. Unable to hold his excitement in any longer, Sunny all but exploded in a cascade of heavy stims. Happy finger tapping a little spinny space. Oh ho ho, well that sounds great! We're going to be super duper good friends in no time! Best friends! That being said, he emerged from the slight entrance. His hands flopped out, palms down flat on the carpet as the rest of his body folded back onto itself like a sandwich folded in half. His legs and feet curled over his head to plant themselves flat on the ground beside each of his sprawled hands. When his slippers touched the carpet, his torso roared to life and twisted round to the left. The buttons on his front momentarily faced upwards. His arms and head followed suit, twiddling themselves beneath one of his legs. And just like that, his body clicked back into place, right side up. Now sitting in front of her crisscross applesauce, Bellamy did one of those twisty bendy things and opted just to mimic how he said. Elbows propped up on her knees, face cupped in her hands. The way he could contort his body was insane, almost to the point of being disturbing. If she did find it disturbing, she didn't say anything about it. It was pretty cool to watch Sonny fold himself into a pretzel and detangle himself from just as easily. It reminded Belle of a spider made of wiggly lymph noodles. She wasn't afraid of those either. So, what are you doing now, friend? And you're waiting for Megan to get back? She should be back by now. It's been 43 minutes. 30 minutes late. It's against the rules. Punctuality is very important. What if someone needs help? No. How rude. He spoke a mile a minute as he sat there, swaying himself back and forth while his face and neck followed suit. Oh, but if he was here, that means the children were unattended. Wait a minute, Sonny. Yes? If you're up here with me, who's down there with the kiddos? A question made him giggle and slap his knee. The kiddos are just fine, yep. Today's Friday. Friday? What happens on Friday? Friday's movie day. They get to watch movies and eat popcorn and slip fizzy fast. Everyone has a blast. And while the kiddos enjoy their moving, I get to clean up. Cleaning up is important. One of the most important rules we have here at the daycare. When I finished cleaning, I saw you up here with Megan. But since Megan doesn't like me, I waited until she left. I didn't want to scare her. Sunny's voice tapered out. The mention of Megan seemed to make him a little sad. She could tell how he felt about what our young employee felt about him. But it wasn't enough to keep him upset. His focus was on a woman right in front of him. Once Megan had left, and after making sure the kiddos were settled, I decided to come say hello. To emphasize, the flung both hands forward to wave excitedly in here. The bells on his wrists jingled loud and proud. She laughed and did the same, reaching out to wave at him with both her hands, fingertips inches from his. He flinched away at the fit been burned. His hands quickly pulled back to fidget with the fabric of his pants. Benjamin's laughter faded, brows furrowed with concern. Are you Yes, we are okay. Perfectly okay. We don't need any repairs. We aren't malfunction. She couldn't even finish a sentence. He cut her off. She didn't think there was anything wrong with him, not at all. But Senator assumed he thought differently and shuddered his feet shuffled back, only to trip over himself and fall onto his bottom. The trepidation in his voice was so intense it sent her reeling. We are okay. We don't need to get to parts and servers. Pinky promise. Please, Bellamy, we are okay. Fear. He was terrified to the point of begging and pleading with her. Whimpering her name the way he did had caused her breath to catch in her throat. He gripped at his wrist and shook his head, cooled onto himself, rocking back and forth while mumbling about malfunctioning. There wasn't any mistaking it. Son was spiraling. He was absolutely hysterical, panicked. His voice fizzled in and out. Bellamy immediately recognized for what it was. What sound he was attempting to replicate. Air, breathe, gasping for air, choking for it, hyperventilating. He was hyperventilating. Fuck. His internal fans roared to life in a feeble attempt to cool himself down. His grip on himself looked so tight and painful that Bellamy worried he'd accidentally yank a ray right out of his head. Or even worse, claws into her face to shreds. From what she had been seen as initially, his faceplate looked like it was made from detailed carbon fiber. But as his fingertips stuck into the side of his face, his cheeks squished under their grasp. It had to be silicone of some kind. But enough of that. There was anything about this in the handbook or the training videos. She was completely taken aback, horrified with what she was witnessing. It took her 22 seconds to snap out of her shock and focus on what needed to be done. She slowly and deliberately climbed to her feet, not making any quick or sudden movements. Hey, son, Rob, it's okay. Hey, look at me. Look at me. Her voice had somewhat of an impact. The grip on his face eased up, slightly. He was still so very far away, drowning. She was intimately familiar with the feeling. It's alright. I'm not going to take you to parts and service. And I'm not going to call anyone or report you. You're alright. You're safe. Nothing is going to happen to you. You're right. Right as the rain. Melanie continued to speak to him as if she was speaking to a terrified child. Running on pure instinct, it didn't matter to Belle that Sonny wasn't human. All she knew was the poor thing was scared to death and begging her not to do something he associated with torture. Everything in her screamed to run and embrace him, but it had been her proximity that triggered him. Not to mention he could easily hurt her if he wanted to. She doubted that he would, but he looked like a caged and cornered animal. He was 1,000 times stronger than her, faster than her, bigger than her. As sweet as Sonny was, there was no telling what he'd do under this amount of stress. It made him unpredictable, and sometimes unpredictable was dangerous, so she gave him plenty of space. That's when she felt it. Dread. There was another soul around. A quick glance around confirmed that. It was just a daycare attendant and here. There was no mistaking where it was coming from. She was feeling what the animatronic was feeling, what Sonny was feeling. He wasn't as intense as what she had encountered on her first day, but it was enough for her to be uncomfortable with. She knew Sonny wasn't actively trying to project the way he was. There wasn't any way for him to understand what he was doing. Not many did. They did, perhaps. Even then it was rare. But Sonny wasn't dead. But in the same way, he wasn't alive. He was an animatronic. So how the hell was she able to feel him like this? Beth shook the thought from her mind to focus on Son as he spiraled. Sonny, hey Sonny, are you? And as if things went already bad enough, Belle's word caught in her throat. The dread emanating from Son had oozed and seeped in a separate entity all of its own. She saw it in her mind's eyes, just an outline of walk and general shape lingering a short distance away. It was a figure standing in the dark with glowing red eyes and claws as sharp as broken glass. It suddenly felt like she had been tossed overboard and swept out to sea just like Sonny had. Both emerged unquentably in dark still waters with starved sharks swimming just below the surface. However, it wasn't Son that was circling, it was Bellamy. Straight away, she's uncertain that the entity was watching over Sonny, guarding him. It was the sharks that swam below her, waiting for her to fuck up, waiting for a reason to rip her apart. A dozen eager mouths full with hundreds of thousands of teeth. Would she be pissing her pants in any other circumstance, it wasn't as important as Sonny. The entity was something she'd have to worry about it later. It was fucking difficult to help someone calm down when you feel exactly what they did in real time. She pushed it back as much as she could, swimming to shore and banishing an image from her mind. Not out of fear, but out of necessity. It confused her. The entire situation confused her. Usually Bellamy would feel things from place, objects, painted with tragedy or purple. Not animatronics, not robots. But it was happening right in front of her. Sonny was crumbling with her eyes. He couldn't move, couldn't form a single word of thought, couldn't process what was going on around him. Loud, distorted, static laugh from his voice box. Bellamy recoiled at its surest sound, covering her ears with both hands. She could feel the heat radiating from his crumbled form where he stood. His fans were malfunctioning, but she refused to give up on him. She had to hollow to be heard over the piercing feedback he was unintentionally making. I know it's scary and I know it feels like your chest is going to burst, but it won't. It's okay. You're okay. It's going to pass. Take deep breaths and count backward from 5 in your head. It's alright, you're safe. It's just us. The kids are safe watching movies, remember? Today's Friday. It's movie day. Don't you want to watch the movie and clean up? It's super important, right? Come back, Sonny. Please come back. Slowly but surely, her voice leading him back to the present. After a few minutes, Sonny regained control of his voice box. Overbearing feedback had lowered in pitch and transitioned to soft metallic chittering that sounded an awful lot like weak sobbing and hiccups. I don't need. I know, Sonny, you don't need to go anywhere. You okay? Bellamy cut him off gently, her hand sliding down away from her ears. You're just fine. I'm sorry I scared you. I didn't mean to. He wasn't fine at all. Despite the subsiding tremor in his limbs, he was still slightly cooled around himself. His arms had crossed over one another to form a shield, a barrier between him and air. This hurt. Seeing him afraid hurt. Seeing anyone hurt as badly hurt, but son? Sam was someone who didn't need to hurt at all, for fuck's sake. Bellamy didn't know him more than a day, but the pain was still in the time. But the pain was still the same. It was devastating. His fear and sorrow and pain had seeped into her heart. It clenched with her chest. Sunny's emotions were loud and clear. She felt them, and that made it impossible for her not to feel terrible. It was horrific. The worst part was it was entirely Sunny. Everything she felt was his. Even when he was terrified, he wanted to be comforted, to feel safe. Opening her mouth and letting the words flow was just as easy as breathing. If Belle couldn't embrace them with her arms, she embraced them with her words. Sandra, I barely know you, and you barely know me, so it must seem strange how I'm reacting. I'm sorry, but I just can't leave things like this well enough alone. I never could, even when I was a little girl. You don't have to tell me what happened to you. You can see what it did to you. I see it. I see it how you treat the children you protect. They'll never have to be afraid of where you are. You treat them how you want to be treated with love and respect. You keep your distance from Megan because you know she's afraid of you. You make sure you're extra loud just in case she happens to be there so you won't be startled. You make sure to give her that courtesy. You care about her. You care about her so much even if she's terrified of you. She's terrified of you and you know it, but you still care. You care about everyone you met, even before you met them. I know it's not my place to say any of these things and won't ever be, but I'm sorry, Sandra. I'm so sorry that you're afraid. Her voice wavered as she spoke, trying desperately to grant him a moment of peace, of clarity. Tears welled up in his eyes and began to trickle down her cheeks. Her knees buckled before giving way, hitting the carpet with a pain funk. She didn't even flinch. All she did was stare at the ruffles around his collar. I'm sure you've been promising many things by many people who never followed through. Honestly, I'd prefer it if you didn't believe me outright. I'm not here to give you false expectations. Not at all. Bellamy couldn't find the strength to do or say anything else. The exchange had drained her. She was always tired with a number of their attacks, but dealing with both his and her maladies was exhausting. Not just that, having a progress as Sunny felt emotions just as real as a human was a bit too much, at least for the moment. His reactions didn't just appear real. They were real. It was as if the woman could see the terror and anger as plain as the red and yellow ruffles around her neck. How? How was that possible? How could she achieve that? She was oblivious to what they had to endure. The false reports, the names, the whispering, the abuse. Any excuse for forced them into that horrid chair where they were ripped open and rewired with full consciousness, tortured until the tormentors deemed them fixed. She had no idea. So how was it she saw through them like cellophane? She saw the fear, the anxiety, the loneliness and the hurt. The hurt brought down on them, the burden they had to carry. She saw them. No, not just him. Them. She saw without even having to try. Her words and apology sparked something in them. She doesn't know what she's apologizing for. Stupid girl. She has no idea what they did to us. Yes, I know. Will you give her a chance? I want to. Don't want her pity. I don't think it's pity at all. Oh, pray tell, son. Pray tell. What is it if not pity? Empathy. Miss Bellamy is expressing empathy. It's different. Bullshit. Crocodile tears, all of them. Language! But what if she isn't? She is, and she will, eventually. It will hurt you just the same. It will hurt us just the same. She never apologized so intensely in her life. Yet that she was, ugly crying to an animatronic after soothing it through to a severe panic attack. Thankfully, he calmed down enough to release his face and unfurl his body, but he didn't stand. He watched her crumble into a mass of tears right in front of him, sat there with his legs sprawled out in front of him, like an emotional, exhausted ragdoll. He turned his head off to the side. Yes, I know. Bellamy blinked. What was that? She wasn't sure if she was talking to her. Probably not. Him looking off to the side made it seem like he was addressing someone sitting next to him. Did I say that out loud? Yes, it did. Are you okay? That was pretty bad. Are you okay? She drawled up, though, for his sake. I'm okay. He turned his head back to consider her. Are you crying? She was. More than just crying. Sobbing, actually. But she shook her head, sloppily wiping the snot and tears on her sleeve. I'm fine. I'm just worried about you. Her voice had gone hoarse, her throat sore from her overuse. She wanted to say so much more, but she couldn't, and she didn't want to overstep further than she might have already. So she did the next best thing. She stayed. Her hands lifted to rub at the sides of her face. I'm worried about you, silly. You know what they say about spoon-feeding traumatized, love-starved people genuine kindness, right? No. That won't do. No, you were crying because of me. Oh, goodness. Don't worry about me. I'm super-duper okay-dokie. Okay. Sun's tone was thick with gold and anxiety. His legs slipped back into his chest, bending at the knees to allow him to wrap his arms around them. He leaned toward her just a little. Something kept him from flying off the handles again. He didn't yank at his race. He just sat there with his gaze fixed on the woman who kneeled there, observing her, listening to her every word. She had his undivided attention, him sitting put, them at nearly even eye level. No, Sonny, I wasn't crying because of you. She shook her head while he tilted his. I was crying for you. Bellamy trailed off, trying to find the right words to convey what she meant. People don't just break down like that, like you did, without reason. It didn't register for Sonny at first. He didn't understand what she meant. And it doesn't take much for someone who's gone through something similar to recognize it for what it is. Her words hung thick between the two. She'd given away more about herself than she'd meant to. See? Just couldn't let things go. It felt wrong to leave it where it was. It clicked. Sam understood. His face spun and fluttered before he turned his head again. The leftmost ray twitched far more than the others, and it was really starting to worry Bellamy. It had been the same ray since she had first met him. What is he looking at? She had noticed the pattern and grew more curious as time passed. There was stillness for a good 2 minutes. Sonny staring off into nothing. Every now and then he'd nod or shake his head, and even matter-of-factly lifted his finger but dramatically dropped it. He had an internal monologue. He's taken to himself. Well, that made sense, but hi. But why? Who? I believe it wouldn't hurt to try. I believe you're a fool. If you give up, no one will ever be good enough. Truth? You're already attached. It doesn't matter at this point, does it? Bellamy, pretty Miss Bellamy, he called to her, done with whatever conversation he was having in his head. Yes? She skimmed over the fact he had called her pretty twice now. You're the first staff member we met that's super duper nice, just to be nice. I know what to say about me, but you say it too. Thank you for standing up for me. Golly, you didn't even know me and you offended me. Bellamy opened their mouth to respond, but he waved her off with a hand. I have very good hearing. I have to. Yeah, she nodded, focused on how calm he sounded. It was better than earlier. There wasn't need to be loud or animated as he was with the children. He spoke clearly and confidently. It's against the rules to touch or be too close to Steph. You get in trouble and be taken apart in service. Her words ended not. That doesn't make sense though. Everyone else can touch stuff. I've met Freddie and Roxy. She got too. They didn't seem to have any issues. The silence she was met with caused the big sigh to escape her nose. He wasn't offering further information, fishing off more could end up spinning him again. Okay, I understand. Well, actually, maybe not. Exactly because I'm not. Well, you better get it, Sandra. Oh Gott, ich habe meinen Faden verloren. The silence she was met with caused a big sigh to escape her nose. He wasn't offering further information and finishing for more could end up spinning him again. Okay, I understand. Well, actually, maybe not. Exactly, because I'm not. Well, you better get it. Sometimes I get scared too. Sometimes stuff is really scary. That's okay. Being afraid is okay. I'm sorry again for making it seem like I was trying to touch you or get you into trouble. What happened wasn't your fault, Sonny. It was mine. After apologizing one last time, Bellamy climbed back to her feet and wiped at her face, trying to make her face look presentable after ugly crying. As she did that, she watched sun rays as they sucked themselves in by in into her head from left to right, then popped back out from right to left, creating a wave-like motion that made her smile. So, ich glaube, ich weiß nicht genau, ob wir die Hälfte durch sind. Ich mache hier einen kleinen Cut, Leute. Und wir beenden das Chapter dann beim nächsten Mal.